Again, welcome to Ask Earl Anything, number 36. Boy, oh boy, figuring out what Ask Earl Anything it is these days is tough for me. Extremely busy life these days. It is 36. I'm actually looking at my iPad and it says 36, so. Extremely busy life. Today, I am doing the show. As you can see, I've been really busy, a lot less content coming out these days. Life is great. I can't complain about life. Life is excellent. Day gig is going well. Life with home life is going well. Church life's going well. So a lot of great stuff going on. And I got a lot of good questions. I know you guys want to hear about drumming, but I just want you to understand where things are at. So I'm kind of taking this kind of like slower. I'm slowing down myself a little bit. I've been working on some musical projects that require me to mix, play drums in different church and some new musicians to play with, which is always really cool. So I've really been focusing the last couple weeks on those projects and those opportunities and less on videotaping myself playing drum covers. The other thing that's happened is a lot of the drum covers I've done in the last month, I've listened to them and they're okay. You know, most of you guys would be happy with them, but I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with my playing. So I'm looking for some new inspiration in drum covers. I'm looking for some new places to go with it. And I think there's a lot of content, you guys, that I did last year before I had a lot of subscribers. And a lot of you guys missed it. So I'm pulling back some of the best of content. And I'm actually making that happen. So you're seeing a little bit like that. Now I hear a drip in my studio. One of the other things that's going on in my life is next week I'm starting a massive roofing project on my studio and my home. We're having all kinds of fun this week right now. So all I got to say is if you hear a little drip in the background, which I hear, and it's like Chinese water torture, they call it. Drip, drip, drip. That's happening over in my studio. So I cannot get this roof finished quick enough for my studio office. But my main house is getting a roof done too, and I've got a new friend living with me. I believe I've got a raccoon family living in my attic right now. So I'm having a lot of fun. Life in South Florida can be loads of fun, and I'm having lots of fun with it. But let's talk about drumming. That's what we're here to do today. Just wanted to give you a little life update. So the first question today comes from Stephen Jones. He's a new friend, and he asked about practice pads. And his question was, I would like to ask about practice pads, good or bad, any recommendations? Well, I've tried a lot of different practice pads, everything from the Remo head pad, which sounds like a drum back in my day, and I had a Ludwig one in the same style, to those little block pads with rubber on it. The pad I have presently in my studio that I use is a Vader. It's round about 13 inches, and it's a great pad for the money. I also carry one with me on the road. I believe it's the it's the company that makes the pads, the little kind of stop sign shaped pads. I forget what they're called. I have a real small one, about a 6-inch one. I take that on the road. I think when it comes to practice pads, Real Feel is what they're called, Real Feel practice pads. It's a small version of one. They're nice pads too. I'm looking for a rubber pad for the most part. I don't like the head pads with the foam underneath it. I have about 5 or 6 different pads. They don't get a lot of use except for that Vader one. I pull that out a lot and practice on that. Another pad that's really cool is the one that goes on the snare drum. It's called a Gladstone pad. And I always wanted to get one of those. I never did. But that's a really great practice pad too. But that goes on a snare drum. But I think there's a lot of really interesting pads out there. You've got to find one that works for you. But for the money, I think the Vader pad's cheaper than the Real Feel, and it feels as good as the Real Feel to me. I think the Real Feel's got the name. So it all depends on your taste. I'm not a big practice pad guy. I'm more of a guy that wants to sit on the drum kit and play, to be honest. But I hope that helps you in your choice. The Vader one's really good. I've been using that for about 5-6 years now. I've had one, and it's a good pad. So, but that's a great question, Stephen, and thanks for the question. All right, my next question comes from Brian Corey, and he said, I know you've done a lot of videos on rides and crashes, but I would like to hear your thoughts on splashes. Have you ever owned customs by Zildjian and other splashes you've gone through over the years? What are your favorites? All right, I'm gonna do another one of these. I had a lot of fun with this last time. I'm gonna go off camera. I'm gonna bring my splash symbols over here. Not a lot of noise this time though. Okay. So, I have a bunch of splash symbols. Now, we'll start with the most traditional. My current Paiste splash symbol is this one right here. It's an 11-inch. It is a Paiste Noiseworks. Now, this was part of a series that Paiste put out about 2010-11 called the Noiseworks Collection. And Noiseworks were you paired two symbols to stack on top of one another. The guy who sold me this symbol is a guy named Ed Clift. And Ed Clift was a Paiste rep. He's not a Paiste rep anymore, but he has a lot of Paiste symbols. And he came by my studio about almost 2 years ago now. And we were trying out I was trying out some of his Paistes. He had a whole ton of Paistes. Really neat guy. He found me after I did the drum talk on John Hammond. And long and the short of it, we hit it off. We've had some discussions back and forth, and he sold me this. But this was part of that Noiseworks collection. Now, I don't have the bottom, the 18-inch symbol, but it's kind of like almost, I think it's a B15 alloy because it kind of looks like a traditional, but it's not exactly a traditional. And I just love the way it sounds. It's an 11-inch. Nice, isn't it? That's what you want in a splash. You want something that's going to cut and go away quickly. So that's my Paiste splash. Now, I also have a Paiste accent symbol. This is my other Paiste. It's 8 inches. I used to have 2 of these. And these are actually bell symbols. And I gave the other one away to my friend Dan at DMR Drums, Custom Drums. And I traded it for this. This is a Wuhan-ish thing. I think it's made by Wuhan. It's in that kind of Oriental Asian style. It has absolutely no logo on it, so I don't know for sure it's a Wuhan. But this, of course, is a bell. Which doesn't get a lot of use. And this is kind of bell-like too. It's a 6-inch. Kind of a funky, nasty splash. So these are kind of bell-like. They kind of go together only because I traded this my other accent symbol. By the way, the accent symbols went for $36 at Guitar Center. They were in a pair. They had handles on them, so you could play them like together, ching kind of thing. And I traded the other one for this. Okay, so that's my Paiste collection as of now. Now, my other splash symbol is a Zildjian, and this is a 8-inch splash. And I cracked it. This one's cracked now. I've had this splash symbol since the Christmas of 1985. And it's lost all of its life again. So it just kind of dies dead because it's got a nice big fat freaking crack right there. But I had one of these when I was a kid. I had one of these as a kid. My brother Nick destroyed it. So I got another one of these, and I think it was Christmas of 1985 because we were living in New Jersey, and my wife bought it for me from the Modern Drum Shop in New York. It was mailed to us, and it's got the stamp on it. So I've had this a long time, and it's now toast. But it's good for stacking, so I haven't gotten rid of it. Now, I'll get into my Sabians. I have a Sabian Evolution 7-inch splash that's got some cracks in the bell, and it's got a little crack on the end that I kind of drilled out. It still has a sound to it. Anyhow, I don't use them a lot, so I keep it around in case I do want to use it. And then I've got two more splashes. One is a 8-inch AA splash, Sabian, that I bought, gotta be 30 years ago, or close to 30 years ago. It's in the 90s. And that sounds more like the A Zildjian, believe it or not, used to sound. Except it's got the brilliant coating on it, which a lot of my Sabians all had the brilliant coating on. And my last one I picked up, it's a 10-inch Sabian AA splash. I had an AAX. I traded that to somebody, so I don't have an AAX anymore. And, wow, it's got a slight crack coming on this too. Well, you know, I crack these things because I tighten down on them, to be honest. I always like my splash cymbals really tight. You notice I have all my ride cymbals, my crash cymbals, they're all really loose, and I don't crack keyhole or anything. As long as it's on a good stand, it's okay. But my splashes, I have a tendency to really choke down on, and this one's starting to get a little bit of that too. Bought this for $30 used at Rondo Music in Union, New Jersey. Probably about 1996 or 97. So, anyhow, that's my splash cymbal collection. So, pretty cool, right? So that's the question, Brian. So let me check one thing. Make sure I'm still running. I am, 12 minutes in. I would hate to have started this and talked to a camera for an hour or something silly. So, anyhow, that's my splash cymbal collection, Brian. Hopefully you got a picture of it. Now, I don't use a lot of splashes, and I don't really care to buy any more splashes. I was just nice to pick up a Peisty splash under $100 is which I got that because it was used. But great question. I used to use splashes in that Police style of music. You know, when I was doing going through my Stuart Copeland Manu Katché phase, I call it, where I wanted to just like punch out accents all the time. There was a guy who used to play for Pearl Jam too. What was his name? Oh gosh, he got fired. He was just too popular. I think Pearl Jam couldn't have a popular drummer. I forget his name, but he had all these splashes too. He came through like the Matt Chamberlain school of drumming, and Matt Chamberlain was big on the splash cymbals too. There was an album with Matt Chamberlain playing called by Edie Brickell and New Bohemians. I forget the name of the album now. It was their first album, great album. Matt Chamberlain toured with them, and then he ended up playing on Saturday Night Live. So he didn't even play on the album. The album was actually played by an English drummer named Chris Whitten, played on it. But there were a lot of splash cymbals on that. And Chris Whitten has played with Dire Straits and Paul McCartney. So, but Edie Brickell was a big album in like 1990, 91. Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians. And they had a song called What I Am. What I am is what I am, and what you are, oh, why? That's a good cover song. I should try that one maybe someday. That was a cool song. There was a lot of splash cymbals on that. And I remember seeing Matt Chamberlain play it on Saturday Night Live before he got the gig on Saturday Night Live, before he moved to Seattle and Nashville and now LA where he lives, and he's this huge session drummer and all that stuff. But Matt Chamberlain, I remember him playing with those splash cymbals on Saturday Night Live. It's a memory. All right, Adam AR drummer, asks, do you prefer ride cymbals that have a defined bell sound and stick definition, or rides that are more crashable? The truth of the matter is, I like ride cymbals that have a defined bell, but I also like them to be crashable. Now, I'm going to go away from the camera again, so here I come back. Let me see if I can find one of these cymbals. Oh. It's right behind me. There we go. This is my Peisty Giant Beat. I'll throw this up today. Just to give you a difference. This is a 20-inch Giant Beat. This is my 22-inch Crope. The Crope is thin and dark, 2,300 grams. The Crope cymbals, the unique quality of the Crope is the bell is integrated into the sound of the ride. And what you're talking about is a well-defined bell sound. The Peisty Giant Beat's got a great bell, but it's also got a nice different ride cymbal. So totally different sound bell to the ride area. And these are kind of more integrated. But I like thin cymbals. And both of these are crash cymbals. So I always go for ride cymbals today if I'm buying a ride cymbal that you can crash on. I have a few ride cymbals that are mostly ride-ish. I'll give you another example. This is another favorite ride cymbal of mine. This is a Sabian HH, early 1980s. You can tell by the small logo on the bottom. It's 2,576 grams. It is a 20-inch ride, so it's heavier than this cymbal right here, this Carope. But it's crashable. But it's more like a big, heavy crash versus... Both are 20s, by the way. This Peisty is, I think it's somewhere around 1,900 grams. 1820 grams. This is 1820 grams. All right, shy of 1,900. So there's a huge difference in that. But this is just a beautiful dark ride cymbal with a nice bell. Again, crashable, thinner than, it's not a heavy ride, it's a medium. It's just a nice sounding ride cymbal. So I go for ride cymbals that have a bell but are thinner. So I think it's both. So you know, I like that stick definition, but I don't think that Carope's got the stick definition, to be honest. The Carope is kind of dark, very dark. Probably not as dark as a Dream cymbal, but it's dark. You know what I mean? It is a dark cymbal. So, by the way, this 19-inch Carope here is a great ride cymbal too. Just to let you know. Some cool stuff. Good sounds. Good sounds. Hope that helps, Adam. All right. The next one, I'm going to save that one. The next one is Jay Klein. And Jay Klein asks the question, in the moment, do you know when you're switching from traditional to match grip and vice versa? And that question comes from the recent jazz cover I just did. I think it was Unit 7. And the answer to the question is, I do know when I'm doing it, and I do it for a reason. The reason I do it is I'm getting a different sound with tradition when I play tradition than when I go to the, I get the heavier thing. Now usually I'll play match grip with the butt end of the stick, as you all know. Occasionally I'll play it with the stick, with the tip. Occasionally I'll play traditional with the butt end. But whenever I make a choice in a song, when I'm watching a video, if you see me switch, it's because I'm hearing something in the music that's making me want to get heavier, and I'll switch over to match grip. Match grip's usually when I want to get heavier and more intense and a little bit more stick on the snare drum. And I will sit there playing traditional whenever I usually start jazz stuff. I never feel comfortable doing the Charlie Watts. I'm playing backbeat. I don't think my backbeat traditional sounds as good as I don't think it's as consistent, if you know what I mean. So I think that's the reason why I switch, is to get a different sound on the snare drum. It's always a musical choice, and it's a choice to what sounds better to my ears when I'm playing the song. And I tend to favor match grip, and I tend to favor the back end of the stick, even if I'm playing lightly. Even if I'm playing lightly in church, I just feel like more comfortable, and I have more control over the stick with the back end of the stick. It's just a sound thing. It just gives me the happier sound. Now, I will do this occasionally. I will say I play traditional. I get some different things out of my traditional too. Like, I think I play my shuffles better traditional. I don't know why. It's just, maybe it's the way I learned to play a shuffle. I was playing traditional at the time. Matter of fact, when I first went through the Jim Chapin Advanced Techniques for the Modern Drummer book, I played it traditional. So I play more match grip now over the years since I went to college, and I played marimba and timpani and more rock music and dance music during the 80s when I was in wedding bands and stuff, and recording and trying to get a certain sound recording wise. I've become more of a match grip player. But I can go back and forth, and I usually do it for a musical choice, something that sounds good to my ear. So that's what I'm usually looking at. But Jay, that's a great question, and thank you for it. All right, I've got one more question. And my last question, and before I do my last question, let me say this. Since I've been working with my iPhone for my camera, because I'm not worried about running out, I seem to get my answers in better and quicker. I'm noticing that in my shows. But there was something about trying to just stick as much into that question and get that 11 minutes on the camera, then I had to get up and switch it and cut it. I'm actually getting lazy now. Like, I don't even want to edit my videos. Like, I want to go off camera, on camera, come back on camera. It's all because I'm doing it all in one shot and there's less work for me. And to be honest, video is not the reason why I'm doing a YouTube channel. Even though video is the medium of a YouTube channel. I started doing the YouTube channel to play music and to share about music. I love talking about drums. And one of the reasons I am not jumping into the new live streaming show thing that Jeff Holden does and Jay does so well, and Drumman 190 used to do really well when he was doing the live streams of, playing others' tunes and stuff on Friday nights. One of the reasons I'm not doing that is because, number one, I think it's hard to get an audience to come and sit and watch it during the real time. But I tell you, when I've been on a few of those shows, it is a lot of fun to be in the chat room. I just don't have evenings to do it. That's the other problem. So if I was going to do a show, it would be during the it'd be mid-afternoon on a Saturday, and nobody would watch my show. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to try it. I'd like to try it with somebody, try a show like that. But then also, I have to have a format that's different. Playing other people's videos has been done pretty much by William and Jay. And Jay does a really good job of it, and so did William. And Jeff's got his own thing, and I don't want to step on Jeff's thing. You know what I mean? He interviews people, and I was on his show. It was a lot of fun doing it. So Ask Earl Anything is my opportunity to talk to you guys and answer your questions, and that's something that's kind of my thing, and it's kind of work, so I'm continuing to do this. But another reason why I've not been doing a lot of drum covers is because I got Final Cut, and I felt like I've done a couple videos with multi-cameras and stuff, and I don't have GoPros, and I don't have my cameras set up on my set all the time. I'm constantly using an iPad and an iPhone and my DSLR and my cheap knockoff Chinese camera and other junky cameras. I get a zoom that's just a terrible picture. And I just don't have the right camera set up for this. So until I buy cameras, I think getting more than 2 or 3 is going to be the max camera-wise I'll do on a video. And truthfully, I used to love just put my DSLR on and playing it one camera. I just loved it. 2 the max. 3's kind of a pain, even though I can do it. I just don't enjoy the editing of the video. It takes too long. I like to do a drum cover in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Can't do it when you do 3, 4 cameras. It just doesn't work, you know. But anyhow, I do like using the iPhone for this particular show because it makes it easier on me. All right, my last question is, this comes from Uzi Boo Boo Doo Doo. Thank you, Uzi. I'm glad you watched my show. I appreciate that. What does Earl like to do besides drumming? Other hobbies, passions? And the last one is, what song or band would you like to tour with? Okay. Well, I'll answer the last question first, then we'll talk about my hobbies and things like that. Truthfully, the only band I ever really thought about really wanting to tour with was the band Chicago, with its almost original members, you know, back in the day when Danny was in the band. That would have been my fantasy band to tour with when I was younger. Today, I mean, gosh, there's so many guys that do touring great and make those bands be what they are. I mean, I'd love to play with Sting. You know, I really would love to play with Sting. I'll tell you, I'm going to pop this little blurb out, but there's a good friend of mine, Dave Jones, and I'm gonna challenge you guys to find the video of this. But I have a good friend of mine, Dave Jones. Probably doesn't watch Ask Earl Anything. Watches my videos once in a while. Played a lot of gigs with Dave back in Jersey. He had a son. His name is Zach, and I live vicariously through Zach a lot of times because Zach has played with Sting. He's actually on Sting's last album with the Shaggy, and he was on the other album from New York. And Zach lives in New York. He's a Brooklyn drummer. He lives in Brooklyn. He plays with Great Big World. He goes out and tour with them. And my claim to fame to Zach was I told him one of his first drum beats. At a night, we were playing a night at this church on a Saturday night, and I showed him how to play a basic drum beat. And that started him off, you know. And then David brought him into the church, and he played in churches all from 12 years old on up. He's the same age as my daughter. He's 31 now. And anyhow, I mean, just watching a guy like Zach get a chance to play with Sting, and he has. He played with Sting live on the Howard Stern show. He was playing cajon and some shakers and stuff. And I actually saw Zach play with Sting and the French singer on The Tonight Show. I forget her name, Marlene something or other, French singer. And he played with Sting at the NBA All-Star game. I think it was 2016. He played the show with them and the Los Banderos, the band that Sting was also bringing on the road with him for a while there. So I am so proud of Zach Jones. I've never really talked about him. I've talked about the symbol I have of his. It's all cracked and looks like it looks like the GAD symbol. But Zach is a really great drummer, and seeing him get to do some of that kind of stuff makes me really proud. So I want to say I'm proud of Zach Jones. I don't know if he'll ever see this, probably never will, but it was just kind of cool that growing up I got to see that. So, but my band I would like to play with would be Chicago. That would be the band for me. That's the one. And the last part of your question, Uzi, is simply, what are my other hobbies and passions? And I would say my other hobbies and passions, if you were looking at my life, is my family. I love family, and I love hanging out with people and relating to people. And that's reflected in the church I go to now, and the way my wife and I have lived life in fellowship and Christian fellowship with other Christians that love to meet house to house in a house versus meeting in a church. The church I'm at now, we meet in a church building, but they're very relational. So having relationships with people and long-term friends and just sitting and chatting and talking to people is like such an important part of my life. My wife and I love that aspect of it. And I would say that's one of my passions, is to share my knowledge with people of all ages, my age or younger than me. And I think that's why a lot of you guys watch this show. From the young guys who are just starting out, they'll watch the show and ask questions, to the guys my age that watch the show because some old guy can still play, or you like what I say, I don't know. I think the way I relate to the camera has to do with how I like to be in life. I like to relate to people, you know, and I like getting to know people. And I've gotten to know some of you guys here on in the YouTube land, and I enjoy that. So the only reason to do a live stream for me would be to have some of you guys on to talk to you. That'd be it. Because hanging out and talking music and talking life, talking faith, talking philosophy, those are important things to me. That's what I'm about. I don't hang out and watch football games. I'm not a football guy. I don't really play golf. I'm a terrible golf player. But what I am is a guy that likes to hang out and relate to people and meet with people that I can talk to and share life with. And of course, a great meal as part of that, as you can see, I really enjoy that too. Anyhow, that's my life now. At 58, I can tell you that's where I've gone to. That, drumming, and my family. Family's very important to me. Spending time with my family. So, anyhow, that's it for Ask Earl Anything. Thank you for watching the show. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. You know, please like it. Please subscribe. And I so appreciate all of you that come and watch the show on a regular basis. Thank you for your support of the show and support of my channel. Have a great day. Bye.